Hey everybody, just wanted to welcome everybody back to EAJ Sports. So my name is Robert Hur. I just want to let you know that I rebranded my channel. It used to be called Evan and Robert Talks 49ers, but Evan, my son, he's pretty busy with a lot of stuff. He's got school, he's got sports, he's got work, all that stuff. So, I'm just rebranding this channel to EAJ 49er Sports. I wanted to talk more than 49ers sometimes, because definitely a lot of things going on in the sports world. And at the same time, I enjoy other sports too. We enjoy other sports. We have other teams that we want to talk about, those kind of things. And you'll see that come up. And I want to mix that into the channel a little bit. But welcome back. It definitely took a couple of weeks off after the Trey Lance injury. Just wanted to see how everything was going to progress, how everything was going to turn out. Wanted to just give it a wait and see approach. So didn't really record anything, didn't really talk too much about it, but after this week, I think we kind of see that we've kind of seen this before, right? Where the 49ers are going, where we are, stuff like that. But there are also a lot of other things that we're seeing in this season that's different from other seasons too. So super excited about that. But we kind of know what our offense is going to look like now. We know, or what we hope that our offense can look like now. And we know exactly what our defense is going to look like. But like I said, welcome. Definitely going to dive into some of that. I just wanted to give you some reflections on the 49ers versus Rams game, give you my thoughts on it. For those of you who haven't, like I said, welcome to EAJ 49ers Sports. Please like and subscribe. Share with others. Follow me on Twitter. It's at @RobertHur_, or you can email me if you have any questions or anything like that at robert.hur.49ers@gmail.com. So my thoughts. First of all, what did we learn in week 4, right? I learned that the NFC West can be won easily if the 49ers just take care of business outside of the division. So one thing I'm learning is that the Seahawks are horrible. I think we kind of expected that, but they're a horrible team. They played a fun game against the Lions, though. Don't get me wrong, but they would struggle against good defenses. Their offense is not very good, and their defense isn't very good either. So I'll just leave it at that. I'd be surprised to see them do that again against a team with definitely a better defense and stuff like that. But I'm expecting the Seahawks to just struggle all year. I expect them to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I think now that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks are not together anymore, I believe the Niners are just going to dominate this team for years to come. So definitely, I hated every year going up against Seattle because I knew it was always going. It's even if the Niners had a great season, they always. They're just that team, but I'm so glad that going forward, that's not going to be the case anymore. So very, very excited to see that happen. Next, the Rams, we saw that they have no depth at all. Their production is very limited to only a few players. Their offensive line is bad. Their running game is non-existent. It's very hard to win if you only have a few players who are contributing to the team. And at this point on offense, it's Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee. Those seem to be the go-to guys for Stafford, and that's not enough. When no one else is stepping up, and I just saw that Odell Beckham just signed with the Bills, so he's not coming back to the Rams. So it's going to be very tough for them to really do anything. That's it on offense. On defense, it's really just Donald and Bobby Wagner. Other than that, I mean, everybody else is just they're just there. They're not really doing anything. So the Rams don't really have much. They're going to beat the lower tier teams, but when it comes to like the upper tier teams, it's not going to happen for them. So then you got the Cardinals. They've been a mess since the offseason. I mean, you got your suspensions, you got tension in the team, you got all that stuff. You look at the contract extension for Kyler Murray, and all that stuff, and then you extend the GM, you extend the coach, and it's a mess. So what are you gonna do now? You got to write it out now. Everyone's extended, so not sure how that's gonna work, but I expect it to just be a few more years of just mess down there. So I'm super excited about that because that tells me that it's going to be the 49ers division for years to come. So I think that as far as like challenging the 49ers within the division, I do think that the Cardinals may give the 49ers the toughest challenge out of all the teams. They usually do. You know, the 49ers prove to still struggle against mobile quarterbacks like Kyler Murray. Um, you know, but with the way that Greenlaw's been playing and the way our secondary's been covering, along with our monstrous D line, I think that this is a year that we can control that guy. You know, the offense has to sustain drives so that defense can be kept fresh, right? So that's still a big thing. We got to make sure that we sustain those drives so that we can give our defense some rest. So when they come in there, they have the energy to chase that little guy around. So the other thing is that the 49ers are one of the best teams in the league, barring injury. You know, hopefully everybody stays healthy. If so, I expect the Niners to be one of the best teams in the league. You know, when the season first started, I projected, I thought that, hey, I can really see four teams contending uh, for this for the Super Bowl this year. You know, of course, you got your Buffalo Bills. Um, you know, I thought that the Eagles might have a chance. They're looking pretty good so far. I definitely thought the Niners would be one of them, and that was with Trey Lance. And even though Lance is out for the year, I mean, I still think that, you know, if Jimmy can just play like how he played against the Rams, the Niners still have a chance. They still have one of the best teams, and if he can sustain that and just play that way, I think that the Super Bowl is definitely there. It's definitely there for the taking. You got the Chiefs. I mean, that team. We don't know who their go-to receiver is right now. We don't know any of that. But as long as you got Patrick Mahomes, and it's really hard to count them out. So as far as like what I saw at the beginning of the season, that's kind of what I saw. And yeah, as the season is playing out, that's still kind of what I see. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but those are who I'm expecting to really contend. So um offensively, like there's a lot of things that the Niners definitely need to improve on. I know our defense is ridiculously crazy right now, and I expect that to continue. And I'll talk a little bit more about the defense, but on the 49ers, we definitely have, you know, for the offense, we definitely have things to improve on, like our line play. You know, I think our interior has been doing pretty good. Trent Williams got hurt, and I talked about that. My concerns were the backup tackles, and you know, although I did see some improvement this week, I hope that that can continue, and definitely just looking forward to Trent Williams coming back. I think that's going to change a lot of things. So one another thing is keeping our players healthy. I mean, we've had a lot of players go down with injuries even within the first 4 games of the season, and you know, I think when we have to, the coaches have to pay attention to that. We gotta, you know, keep the players healthy. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna do that, but like for example, when you're beating the Rams like that and our defense is playing like that, use some of the backups too, you know, because if we're just running the ball and stuff like that, um, give them some experience, put them in, you know. Um, our depth, you know, we definitely have to build depth, and what I mean by that is that the backups are there, but you got to find out what you have in your backups. Give them some playing time, give them some experience, so that you know when you really need them down the road in the, you know, later in the season, they're ready to go, and you know exactly what you have in those guys. But you know, if you don't give them playing time, you're just kind of guessing about what you might have in those players without really knowing for sure. So build the depth, right? And we got to develop the passing game. I think you know, we've got a great running game. Even our passing game right now is basically like an extended version of the running game. But we gotta try to build our passing game. And what I mean by that is that when the team knows that we're just throwing it over, you know, across the middle of the field, or they know that we're just running it, they're stacking the box. Even if we don't complete the passes, let's take a shot downfield here and there. At least they know at least they can know that, hey, you know what, we're willing to take that shot. So they better put somebody there to cover it. They can't really stack the box, and that'll open things up. So you're not, you know, if you throw it and you complete 1 out of 4 or whatever, it's a completion, take it. But the other 3 lets the team know that, hey, you better put somebody back there. We're gonna take that shot just to help open up the offense. So positives, right? We've got reinforcements coming. That's something that's awesome, on the offense, right? You got reinforcements coming back. Trent Williams. I believe that when Trent Williams comes back, I expect to see Kittle go back to being himself in the receiving game. Right now, a lot of people are talking about how George Kittle is um, just blocking. They're just using for him for that. They're not using him in the passing game. That's because you lost your best offensive lineman, and George Kittle is a great blocker, and you're keeping him to block those. So you're not seeing that. But I believe that when Trent Williams comes back, I do expect Kittle to go back to being himself. I expect him to go back to the receiving game and playing like Kittle. So right now, that's just how I feel. I feel like he's being asked to carry a lot of the blocking load, and expect to kind of see that for a little while. Of course, there can be games where um, he might break out, but I think the majority of the time, expect him to just kind of help with the blocking game for now. Then you got Elijah Mitchell coming back later in the season too. Mitchell is much more of an outside runner. That the outside runner that Kyle likes to use on the outside runs. Jeff Wilson is more of the inside runner. As you can see, he doesn't really get out to the outside that much. And then you got Debo. You mix in Debo anywhere you want, really. So when Mitchell gets back, and now knowing what you have in Wilson and Debo is super exciting. It's going to be very exciting, and I just wish that they would give JP Mason a few carries. I think he showed a lot of promise in the training camps and the preseason. So definitely love to see what they would have in him. I'm not sure what the issue is right now. It could be a trust issue. It could be maybe he needs work on like pass protection or whatever the case is. We don't know until we actually see him play. But I mean, the kid showed a lot of promise. So I just wish that we'd give him a few carries just to see what we got. And then we got Daniel Brunskill. I mean, he played a little bit in the Rams game. He's still working his way back, but this provides solid depth, experience, and flexibility. Either way, that's what it provides to the line, and super excited about that as well. Plus, I heard that he was coaching up Burford on how to control Aaron Donald this week, which is good stuff. That's veteran savvy stuff, right? With that experience, I mean, he knows how to do it. That's what I heard that he was doing with Spencer Burford, and that's where it comes in, and that's where his value is going to come, and along with the depth and along with all that stuff. So reinforcements are coming back. Another thing I learned this week is DeMeco Ryans will be gone after this season. I'm just glad that he decided to stay another year with us so that he can grow some more. His adjustments are next level. He can beat teams with the talent that they developed in his players. And I'm saying develop because considering so many of the superstars on this team, so many of the people on this team, so many of the studs on this defense were late round draft picks. That means that people didn't see what they had, whatever they had inside of them had to be developed. And, I think that when you see those things, you can see that, okay, he can develop those guys. He can develop their talents. He can do that stuff. But he can also beat you with his mind and his strategy, which is amazing. And what I mean by that is he's super prepared. You better be prepared too, or you're going to get dominated. And we've seen that game after game from DeMeco Ryans already. So an example of mind and strategy, right? How he adjusted to the Rams' backup center situation. He took advantage of it, calling blitzes, calling stunts, knowing that that guy wasn't prepared and couldn't handle it. The Rams just couldn't handle that. This resulted in 7 sacks and tons of pressure. Man, they probably could have got 10 sacks on that, but Stafford had some mobility in the pocket to get away. So, and I believe that having Vic Fangio around this summer, he took a page out of Fangio's playbook for sure. So that's an example. Another example is giving Huff, Talanoa Hufanga, the freedom to roam. Huff doesn't have a ton of experience. He's only in his second year. He's 22 years old, but you can see that he has great instincts and he's really a student of the game. The young man's mind is ridiculous. I think DeMeco gives him the freedom to trust his instincts. He talked about it in the Rams presser after the game, right? That he had certain coverages, but saw things and he adjusted out of his initial responsibilities. And I love that. I mean, knowing that he has the freedom where he can adjust out of it, get into the right positions, cover the right guys, get into the right spots, and that's just what I love about D'Amico is that his players know they can do that stuff. So, I believe that D'Amico is the type of coach that you'd want to play for. And I believe next year, wherever he goes, he's the coach that believes in your abilities, puts you in in great positions, and lets you play freely. I think wherever he ends up, he should be able to get good players to come play for him because players are gonna like that freedom. They're gonna like that. He trusts them and trusts their abilities and stuff like that. And that's who I'd want to play for, right? So those are some of the things that I learned in week 4, especially about the 49ers, about our division. So yeah, if you guys see anything else that you want to add or let me know that I should look at, definitely hit me up, shoot me an email, hit me up on Twitter, and we can definitely talk about it. So let's talk about the 49ers defense versus all-time Ds because I do believe that the 49ers have an all-time defense right now. And they're showing it right now. Every single game. I mean, they haven't given up a touchdown in the first half of a game. I think they've only given up 2 touchdowns on the season. It's ridiculous. They're only allowing like 11 points a game. For the first 4 games, yardage is low. Everything, man. I believe it's an all-time defense, and I believe we have all the pieces in place. As long as health doesn't become an issue, this should be one of the greatest defenses that we've seen. And they are getting more pieces back in the next few weeks. And you've seen the way that they're playing right now and what they're doing, and they don't even have everybody back yet. Wait till those guys all come back, and then you see where we're at, right? So this is what I love about the 49ers defense. It's that they have at least one superstar at every level. That's what I believe. And those superstars are also surrounded by other stars. And then you have the depth as well. So, for example, in the secondary, superstars. I believe Hufanga is a superstar. I believe Mooney Ward is a superstar. And they're surrounded by Mosley and Jimmy Ward. I think those guys are studs. Those guys are stars. But I really do believe that Hufanga and Mooney Ward have an opportunity to become superstars in this league. And you look at linebacker, probably one of, if not the best middle linebacker in the game right now, Fred Warner, surrounded by Dre Greenlaw. I mean, Dre Greenlaw is probably playing better than Warner right now. Leads the team in tackles. He had 14 tackles against the Rams. He's everywhere. So that's what you have. And then you talk about the D-line, right? You've got Bosa, probably one of, if not, definitely top 5 players in the NFL right now, surrounded by Armstead, Ebukam, Drake Jackson. Look at those. You got superstars surrounded by stars. And on top of that, you got so much depth at each level, at every position. And they don't even have everybody back yet. They have very good players coming back at every single level, right? So you talk about the back end, you got Jimmy Ward, Jason Verrett. They're starting to practice this week. They're coming back. You talk about the linebackers, you got Al-Shaair, who's still working back from an injury, who's going to be back. It's going to take a little bit of time, but he's coming back. You talk about the D-line, you got Armstead, you got Kinlaw. Those guys are coming back. What can I say? Even without those guys, we have a tremendous defense right now. Imagine when those guys come back, where it's going to be. So I'm predicting right now that this will be an all-time defense. They haven't even faced the top offenses in the NFL yet, but they will soon. You got the Chiefs, you got the Bucks, you got all those teams coming up. But the Bucks right now, their the offensive line is so hurt right now. But you're playing against all these teams coming up, and we're going to get to test this team. And I believe that when they play against those offenses, I think they will solidify themselves in those games this season as one of the all-time great defenses. The defense can dominate the league. I really do believe that. But they also have an Achilles heel. And as of right now, that's their quarterback. As long as Jimmy plays okay, like he did, on Monday night, I believe this defense can carry them to a Super Bowl and even a Super Bowl win. As long as Jimmy just plays okay. We don't need him to do too much or anything like that. All he has to do is just play okay. All right. So let me tell you about this. With Jimmy G, right? This is how the 49ers can look this year. They can look a lot like the 2019 49ers that went to the Super Bowl. They can look like the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers that won the Super Bowl. They can look like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens that won the Super Bowl. So those teams, what did they have? They were defensive-driven teams with strong running games. The quarterbacks weren't the best, but they relied on the running games. The quarterback didn't make any mistakes or didn't make a lot of mistakes, and their defense just dominated. Here's the difference, though. The Buccaneers and the Ravens didn't have somebody like Debo. They didn't have a Debo. The 49ers today have Debo. We saw that Debo is a player that can carry his team on offense. He can carry the whole offense. He can carry his whole team. And he did it just last year. Put the team on his back, literally carried them into the playoffs. Only, this is all of a sudden, they stopped giving him the ball, That was the only thing, is that they stopped giving the ball against the Rams. You got to keep the ball in the hands of your best players. Don't ask too much of Jimmy. The results will be good. And that's what we have to stick to. The Niners have Debo. The other teams that won Super Bowls in the past with great defenses didn't have a Debo. So the advantage, I would say, is that the Niners have a huge advantage, and they can definitely do it. I understand that back in the days, it was a different style of football. Teams weren't airing it up all the time. But man, I think with this secondary, with this pass rush, it can neutralize that all the passing. It can neutralize all that stuff. The question is, can the other team's defenses stop our offense when we just stick to the plan of let's just dominate them with the run, right? So that's what I think about what this team has with Jimmy. So like I said, if you guys disagree or have anything else to add or anything like that, hit me up, okay? So I want to talk about coaching now. I believe that Kyle and DeMeco both did a masterful job versus the Rams. I don't have much to say about DeMeco. I already told you why he's going to be a head coach next year. Kyle, what he's doing is he's still drawing up wide open receivers. Jimmy just has to see it, and when he does see it, he just has to hit it. We saw a lot of misses already. If he can hit those, imagine. I love that he's taking some shots here and there, even though he's missing it. Eventually, one's about to connect. And what that does is it just brings the threat of, hey, you know what? Jimmy's willing to throw it deep. So I like to see Kyle use more of his depth, like use the backups, give him some practice or give him some play time just so you can develop him as well and see what you got. I would hate to see his players take so much unnecessary punishment. It's a long season. You've got to learn from the first few games of this season so far. Kyle, be aggressive. Not in that you have to go for it on fourth down or go for it every fourth down or anything like that. I actually like the decision that he made to kick the field goal to go up by 8 points. But be aggressive as in when you have a lead, keep adding on. Take the life and the fight out of your opponent. Let them know that you're not coming back and make sure that they know that they can't come back on you. Kyle, a lot of times I feel like he goes conservative and his opponents fight back like they have a chance to still win. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they come back and they still win. But just because you have a great defense, don't put it on them all the time. You got this, Kyle. Let's go do it. So the decision for the field goal, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, right? To go up by 8 points. A lot of people felt like, you're like about at the 1.5 yard line from the end zone. Should have gone for it. But I feel, and I understand the thought process. If you go for it and don't get it, a TD can beat you. You were up by 8. That means that for them they can't beat you. They pretty much got to score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion just to tie you. So, I just felt like, Kyle made a good decision on that one. But you got to come back around the next drive and stay aggressive and dominate them and make sure that they take the life out of them. Okay, so I'm talking about some predictions that I made at the beginning of the year. Okay, I predicted at the beginning of the year that Huff will lead the team in interceptions, and I stick by it. I thought he would be a Pro Bowler. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, um, I got a chance to interact with him this offseason at the Vikings and 49ers joint practices, and I just knew that I felt like he was going to be something special. So that's why I said, I believe he's going to lead the team in interceptions, and I believe he'll be a Pro Bowler. But he's playing out of his mind right now. He's playing out of this world right now. He should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I felt this was, I felt this way after, like you said, that brief conversation with him, because I could tell he was smart. I could tell he studied. He remembers everything because he was just asking everybody, "What's your favorite play? What's your favorite play?" And there's so many plays. How do you remember everything? And when if somebody said something, he would actually comment on that. So I knew he remembered everything. I told him my favorite play was the Contrez Knight interception, but then I also said no. My favorite play is actually the one where the receiver was cutting across the middle of the field, and Contrez Knight was there to lay the receiver out, so he dropped the ball. But man, this guy remembers everything, so I know he's definitely a student of the game. The guy's just built different. So I expect to see a superstar in this player. I mean, I don't know if he will become like a Troy Polamalu or anything like that, but I definitely feel like this guy is going to be a star in this league. Um, I also predicted that Nick Bosa will finish the season between 18 to 22 sacks, but based on seeing him, that was just based on seeing him in practice. And I remember he had a great day out there, where he had like a sack, and he came back with a tackle for loss in the backfield, and I was like, man, just that sequence alone was crazy. I think he had like 6 sacks that day in practice or something like that. But I remember the day before, that was the second day of joint practices. The first day, I remember watching the presser, and he said that after the first day practice, where he talked about seeing things once, and he said, I had a chance to see the offensive linemen now, and I had a chance to see what they're doing. Now he's going to make adjustments, and tomorrow I'm going to come out and try new things. And he went out the next day, dominated that practice, and now he's leading the league in sacks. And what that tells me is that he's also, like I said about Hufanga, smart, studies, student of the game, remembers everything. And they don't just remember, but they come back and they are willing to build off of it. And those two, that's what I see in them. And that's why I believe that these guys were going to be great players this year for the 49ers, and it's showing. And I think that what that does is all those things combined creates that instinct that you need. It creates all those things where they can see something and trust in it without having to second guess or think too much or anything like that. And man, I think that my prediction was too low, 18 to 22 sacks. If you say he's healthy and plays all the games, he can get 25 sacks, and I think that he should and will be the Defensive Player of the Year. So that's Nick Bosa for you. Outlook for this next week, right? Hope to get a show out before the Panthers game just to talk about it, but I expect an easy win. The Panthers are horrible. The offense is terrible. The 49ers D-line, I feel like they're going to feast. Yeah, you have the thing with Bosa and Mayfield, going back to college and those kind of things. And I mean, that's another part of it too, right? But I expect the defense to dominate. However, I want Christian McCaffrey to do well, just because I got him in fantasy, right? So, but forget that, right? Our offense can definitely run on this team. This defense is giving up more than 130 rushing yards per game and allowing just a little over 200 yards passing per game. They have a middle of the road defense, but it's built to play the pass more than the run. So that's the thing, is that the 49ers are built to run. Even their passes are just extended runs, right? It's pretty much what the Niners offense is built around. So I expect the 49ers offense to dominate, or I don't know about dominate, but definitely beat this defense. I expect our defense to dominate their offense. The Panthers have some great pieces on defense, but they will be vulnerable against that run. Like I said, I expect domination this game from the 49ers. And I'll try, like I said, I'll try to put a podcast out before the game in the next couple days, just to talk a little bit more about it, do it like a deeper dive into it. So once that comes out, I mean, hopefully, you guys get a chance to hear it. Let me know what you guys think too. So, other things that I have planned coming up, right? So, I want to do shout out podcasts, so catch my shout out podcast. I want to put one out tomorrow. And, with this one, I'll be giving a shout out to Aaron Judge for breaking the American League single season home run record. If you're wondering why I'm even talking about Aaron Judge, because has nothing to do with like the 49ers, or it has nothing to do with like even California or anything like that, there's a reason for it. So check it out. You'll know why I think that why I want to give the guy props, and definitely once again, thanks for joining me on EAJ 49er Sports. If you guys have any questions, want to know more, want me to talk about other things, like I said, hit me up on all the social media platforms that I'm on. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time. You guys all have a great day.